Welcome into the Quest Number 9 podcast. My name is Seth Warner, and today we're going to talk about Kentucky basketball from a fan's perspective. On this episode, we're going to be talking about Kentucky beating Florida in SEC home opener 106-100, and it was a thriller, guys. In this game, Kentucky shot really well from the field, shooting 57% and 48% from three, hitting 14 threes, almost getting to Coach Pope's 30 attempts, got to 29, while making 37 out of 64 shots and having 25 assists, having 12 field goals that were not assisted was really good for this Kentucky team. Coming in with this Florida team, forcing a lot of ISO possessions against teams is what they're traditionally known for. We gave up a lot to Florida, giving up 100 points, but Florida, two of their guys, Clayton that we talking about, and then I think Martin I talked a little bit about coming into this game, but they combined for 59 of their 100 points. So there were only two other guys, that were in double figures. One had 11 and one had 10. So they only played 8 guys in total. So they played kind of a short rotation a little bit. And they were really heavily leaning on those two main guards, but they played really, really well. Clayton, especially the end of the second half, where Kentucky kind of allowed him to make some really tough shots. I thought Lamont Butler was disruptive in some of that middle part. He did well at the beginning of the game and in the game, but Lamont Butler did some good stuff in between. He made a really, really nice shot over Lamont, where Lamont kind of ran him off. He sidestepped, and Lamont closed out hard, didn't foul. He fouled him one time on a three that I was a little hesitant about if that should have been a call or not. But in another stand-up for Kentucky in this game was Lamont Butler. He had 19 points and 8 assists, with only 2 turnovers. That was a really big thing for Kentucky in this game. Only having 6 turnovers, in Florida having 9, and several of those were live ball turnovers. Like Lamont Butler had 2 different steals on Walter Clayton, being able to neutralize some of that. Kentucky struggled to rebound, but I thought they did good in stretches. Like, it was a 9 rebound difference, and then they would get it down to like 5, and then it would just be in stretches. I felt like Kentucky did some really good rebounding stretches, but really wasn't able to keep a consistent effort. I thought did a pretty good job of running him off the three-point line, shot 36, but shot in the probably mid to low 30s pretty much the whole game. Florida shot 55% from the field, made a lot of tough bucket to the mid-range, but I thought Kentucky was able to slow them down, especially after that first section of the first half, right there and a little bit after the first media timeout. But overall, I thought Kentucky did a good job of controlling the pace of this game. It was fast-paced like they wanted. They got their attempts. They attempted more shots than Florida. That's something they hadn't done in the past games. Kentucky is shooting 64 attempts and Florida shooting 60. Florida had quite a few more possessions with a lot of offensive rebounds, but they went to the line a lot, missed a lot of free throws, missed 13 free throws. Kentucky missed 6, so that was kind of that big differential. We shot 75% from the line. They shot 63, so that was another big part of that. And Florida actually had 30 points off of just second chance points, with 15 offensive rebounds, with Kentucky only having 9. So that was one thing that really kept Florida in this game, especially in that middle part where Kentucky went on a run, had an 11-point lead at one point. And Kentucky in this game went on 3 really big runs where they went on 2 10-0 runs and 1 16-0 run. And there's one stat that they keep with some of the analytics stuff that talks about, it's like kill runs. And they're 10 or more O runs. And if a team's had 3 or more of those in a game, they are 299-0. And Kentucky was 299 on Saturday. They ended up winning that game, having one 16-0 run once they dig the hole early, and then 2 10-0 runs to keep control of the game and to kind of extend the lead. The second one was the last 2 minutes of the first half, where they were able to extend the lead by creating some steals, executing on defense, and just really overall controlling the game. I felt like Florida was feeling like they were gaining momentum going into halftime, but Kentucky was able to do a really good job hitting those kill runs and creating second chance for themselves, having several second chance boards, but still giving more to Florida. And this was one game Kentucky really shot well from the field, making 14 threes, and Kobe Brea had 7 of those, though. He was 7 for 9 with 23 points. One thing that Florida, I thought, really struggled with was keeping him under control. He was 8 for 11 from the field, and his one interior shot that he missed was a block shot by the Florida big man that was dominant. And he had 23 points in 22 minutes. He didn't impact the game in many other ways offensively, but I thought he did a good job defensively, particular too, just containing the ball, being energy. He's 6'7", so he understands how to use his length, size. Laterally, he's not the most quick in the world, but he's a big guard that can use some of his physicality and length to keep advantage. And like I was saying, Florida struggled with him. They allowed him to make a few open threes to start the game. Then he made, I think, probably 3 that were tough contested shots. But once you let him get hot, he's hot. And he had one that was insane. It was a pump fake, behind the back, pump fake, step through, shot, and he drained it up. And then, yeah, he's hot. The dude that was guarding him looked over at his bench like, what else can I do? And that was kind of the game Kobe Brea was having. So, and outside of Kobe Brea, the whole bench only ended up with 5 points. Garrison, who ended up fouling out, I thought brought some physicality, did some good passing things, and ended up with 2 points. Travis Perry came in and I thought gave some good energy. He had 3 points on 1 for 2 in 8 minutes, allowing, like I was saying, Lamont Butler to get some breathing room, not having to play the whole entire game. Defensively, I thought he didn't get completely torched, but he did okay. He didn't get beat absolutely every time. And then Amari Williams kind of started the game slow, but he was efficient from the field. 6 for 7 from the field, 8 rebounds, 5 assists with 15 points, and actually no turnovers. Him and Andrew Carr each had 5 assists to 1 turnover, a 10-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. That's really great for this team. Like, we had 25 turnovers to 25 assists to 6 turnovers. It's a really high level for this Kentucky team. Florida also executed at a very high level. Ruben Child, big guy for Florida. He was really dominant in this game, having 10 points and 8 rebounds with 3 assists, was 4 for 4 from the field in 21 minutes. Those minutes would have been a little bit higher, but he struggled with some foul trouble into the game with 3 fouls, picked up 2 minimally early in the first half, having to set for a little bit. And that was really when Kentucky went on their big run. I thought Amari Williams did a better job in the second half, being really physical. He's listed at 255, but he plays bigger than he is. At 6'10", 255, he plays like he's more 270. So he was able to bully, I thought, our bigs on both sides. He was able to get some foul trouble with Amari Williams and Brandon Garrison. That was part of the reason he fouled out. He did a really good job of sealing them out on drives. And he hooked a little bit, but they didn't end up calling it. And then Amari Williams ended up with 3 fouls. He had all those in the first half, so he was in some major foul trouble. But when he picked up his fouls, it felt like his rhythm in the game really kind of was offset just because he wasn't able to play within his identity as a big who's just cleaning up, being physical, just in dribble handoffs. He just wasn't the same after that really good start, and Kentucky went on their big run. I think part of that's to Amari Williams being more physical, being able to control the paint more, and Brandon Garrison being high energy, still having some of that physicality to come lean in. And one thing I was really impressed with Florida is some of their other bigs. Alex Condon, a sophomore, 6'10", 230. I thought he did a really good job of being physical. You would perceive some of these other dudes as more like finesse, but Florida is one of the best rebounding teams in the country. I'm no doubt in that. He's shooting 42% from three, shot 29% last year. I would say you close out to him low and let him shoot if he shoots it, but still get a hand up is my thought process. And Kentucky did a similar approach, and Amari Williams one time left his feet on a closeout. I think it was to him, but I thought they impressed me with some of their physicality, not being as much finesse as I thought they would. Will Richmond, last year he really hurt Kentucky. Him and Clayton really hurt us. He didn't have as good of a game this year with 9 points in 36 minutes, was 4 for 8 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3, with 6 rebounds and 2 assists. But a lot of the offensive load went to Martin. He transferred in from FAU. And actually, him and Lamont Butler played against each other in the Final Four when San Diego State and both of them were there. Lamont Butler got the last laugh, and Lamont Butler was also able to get the last laugh in this game. He'd been averaging 16 points a game. He had 26 in this game. 9 for 17 from the field, 5 for 12 from 3, with 5 rebounds and 1 assist. And just made some tough buckets. He did have 2 turnovers, but I thought overall he was under control. These two guys are 2 of the better guards in the country. Clayton played like he'd be an All-American. Just both of them were really efficient. I felt like really under control. And this Florida team's going to be very dangerous going forward. It'll be interesting to see. On Tuesday, they're hosting Tennessee. So that matchup will be interesting. Just how Florida does with Tennessee interior-wise. I'm curious to see how their bigs for Tennessee do against the physicality of Florida, because Tennessee's another team that seems to be more finesse than anything, especially losing Adu to Arkansas, not being as much true bigs, being more like Big Z that was on Kentucky, less physicality inside. And this Florida team is definitely physical and definitely offensively and defensively talented. And this is going to be a danger going forward. And another takeaway for Kentucky in this game, I just felt like all of the guys that we need to play well played well. And anyone else we need played a role and fit their role. Like Brandon Garrison came in and took some of that burden off of Amari Williams. Some of those fouls. Travis Perry came and gave us some spot minutes, only shot twice. I felt like didn't absolutely burn us on defense and was just solid overall. Jackson Robinson, I thought, hit some big shots just to extend the lead. He had 2 different small 5-point runs that made Kentucky just really have control in this game. He was really efficient. 5 for 12 from the field, 2 for 6 from 3. Wasn't his best 3-point shooting performance, but he did a good job overall from the field, almost shooting 50% in 30 minutes. And coming up for Kentucky, the schedule's not going to get any easier. Kentucky has 2 more road games on Tuesday and Saturday. We're going to get back to that Tuesday, Saturday timetable, especially since football's over. That schedule lines back up. We're going to be playing Georgia on Tuesday and then Mississippi State on Saturday, who is a top 15 team in the country, I think. It's going to be interesting to see when they play some really good competition in Kentucky, Mississippi State. They beat down South Carolina on Saturday, who's probably the worst team in the SEC, but is still a really, really good team who had only lost 3 games this year. And then Kentucky on Tuesday is going to be playing Georgia, who's 10-2 before 12-2. Before Saturday, their only loss was to Marquette. They beat a Notre Dame team 69-48, who went toe-to-toe with North Carolina, only losing that game by 1 point by Elliot Cadeau last-second shot. Their only loss before that was 11-point loss to a top 10 team, probably in Marquette, beating St. John's by 3. They don't have the greatest strength of schedule, but I thought they've done a really good job of competing and having a few opportunities sprinkled in there where they're competitive. It's going to be a road game for the Wildcats, their first SEC road game. A Georgia team that's gave Kentucky some troubles in the past, especially on the road, where we lost there last year, or no, it was 2 years ago. And last year, their one shooter gave us a lot of issues. That was when Big Z really came out. We started blowing them out, and then we kind of lost control of the game. And then they were able to roar back a little bit, but Kentucky was still able to win. If we didn't have that big lead at first, we probably would have lost that game last year. But coming into this game, it's a completely new team. I just feel like Kentucky needs to understand their identity in them. Is a Georgia team that doesn't shoot the 3 well at all, only made 2 on Saturday against a really good Ole Miss team that they lost to by 12, but it was a more competitive game than the score says, I think. And overall, I thought Kentucky has some of the advantage with the perimeter shooting and Kentucky being a really good 3-point defense and being disruptive, and some of our length and size in Amari Williams. I think this is a game where he can get a lot of block shots. But this UGA team is not lack of talent. But it'll just be interesting to see how they execute. And if Kentucky can execute, I feel like they're the better team. But this Georgia team, anyone in the SEC, you can't look over, because I feel like the SEC in the last few years has done a lot better job of developing talent and acquiring talent. NIL helps. The portal helps. I feel like we have better infrastructure in the SEC. They're doing a better job of recruiting in their states. It felt like kids from Georgia, kids from South Carolina are going to other schools in their state or going out of state. But I felt like the SEC teams are doing a better job of keeping those kids home and being able to recruit the portal and in the South. That's a big reason for me. I feel like the SEC is better, and the portal and the NIL stuff helps. And that's all from the Quest Number 9 podcast. If you like this content, you can also find my work at questnumber9.com. It's just Quest. It's the Quest Number 9 is no spaces and then just .com. And you can find us at Quest Number 9 on Instagram or at Quest Number 9 on X, aka Twitter. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or iHeartRadio, please download this episode if you liked it, or leave us a review. And like I was saying on YouTube, please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Go Cats.